Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel that is Knowledge with Read. So in this video we are going to start with a new topic and I'm going to tell you that on this channel you will get all the videos, all the required videos of class 9th and as well as some informational videos. So now let's get start with our chapter that is the fun they had, and it is a lesson of the Beehive textbook. It is a prose and it is written by Isaac Asimov. So let's get started. First of all, introduction. Isaac Asimov was American writer and professor. It is about the uh, writer who writes a story. He was reputed for writing some books on science fiction. He generally writes the book on science fiction, wrote the book on science fiction. Most of his stories are simple with little description and little functional dialogue. The fun they had is a young girl Margie's diary entry. The chapter, the lesson which we are going to study or read is a diary entry of a young girl named Margie. Here we learn about the kind of education prevalent in the 22nd century when the traditional system of education has been replaced by the new one. There are no school buildings and human teachers. The mechanical teacher, the television screen, acts as a teacher. The system has its own advantages, but it is devoid of all fun. It is general thing that when the students study at home, there will be no play and no fun. Students cannot go to school together. They cannot study and play together. There is no laughing and shouting. So now it is the summary of the chapter. It is a summary, first of all, that is the discovery of a real book. In her diary, Margie, who was 11, wrote on the page headed May 17, 2157. Today, Tommy found a real book. So Margie wrote a diary on which it is page headed that May 17, 2157, and the title was that Tommy found a real book. It was quite an old book, having words printed on its pages, and the pages had turned pale and wrinkled. That the pages become crinkly. The words did not move, they stay on the page. Marge's grandmother had once remarked that they used to have such books. So now, what are telebooks? Tommy, who was 13, Tommy was 13 years old and Margie was 11 years old, looked at this real book with disdain and called it a waste. Tommy called the real book as a waste. They had, on the other hand, books on their television screen. Their television set had many books which they could discard after reading. It had space for many more books. They read many books, and the Tommy called the real book as a waste, but actually it is not a waste. Margie headed for school. Margie did not like the school. Margie was surprised to know that Tommy's book was about the school. Margie was very much surprised that why anyone write about school. She had come to hate school, that is, the mechanical school, not the real school, not the actual school. The television screen on which lessons were imparted and tests were conducted. This mechanical teacher had been failing her in geography again and again. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography and she had been doing worse and worse. So that's why the Margie was falling down in geography subject. So after looking at this point, her mother sends the mechanical teacher to the county inspector. Marge's mother sent for county inspector to see if there was something wrong with the mechanical teacher. The inspector, with a red face, came with a box of tools. It is about the inspector. It can be asked in the question. paper that tell something about the inspector. It is only of 1 mark, so you can write that the inspector has a red face, and when he took the mechanical teacher, he came with a box of tools. He smiled at Margie. Margie wished he took away the mechanical teacher, but she was disappointed. The inspector set the mechanical teacher right. He told Margie's mother that Margie was not at fault. In fact, the geography sector had been geared a little too quick. He had slowed it down and hoped Margie would make satisfactory progress. So here the question can be asked that why did Margie got disappointed? So you can write that he thought that the mechanical teacher took away the county inspector took away the mechanical teacher, and she would get a relief. But the county inspector set the mechanical teacher in just some hours. So now, what about Tommy's knowledge about old school? It was from Tommy that Margie learned about old schools. She was amazed to learn that schools were situated in far off buildings where kids would go and teachers would teach them. Margie said that she was not prepared to be taught by a strange man living in her house. She was told that teachers, unlike the mechanical ones, lived in their own houses. So here the question can be asked that tell the differences about the old schools and the future schools. So you can write many of them. Now there was Margie's school time. They were reading the book that Tommy found, and now there was Margie's school time. Margie's mother, Mrs. Jones, reminded Margie that it was now her school time. It can be asked that what was the name of Margie's mother? So you can write Mrs. Jones. She would go to her room to study. Margie asked Tommy if she could read the real book. Some more with him after the school. Then Tommy agreed and walked away. Now, what about Margie's feelings? Margie put her homework in a slot with a sigh. Her mind wandered to old real schools where her grandfather's grandfather would go as kids. She thought of the time when kids from the neighborhood would go together to their school. They learned the same things and helped one another in their homework. And their teachers were not machines but persons, and the human teacher can make an individual as well as an expert. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen the fractions of a question, but Margie continued to think of old schools and the kids and all the fun they had. She felt sad and lonely. So now, this is your chapter, and now we will learn that what is the message of the story. The fun they had presents a view of the future when the system of the education will be completely mechanized. The writer, who is conscious of the deficiencies of the present system of education, wants us to realize that it is not necessary that the present system of education should be discarded. Real schools and real teachers have their own importance. Mechanical teachers and telebooks cannot be a good substitute for them. This is what is conveyed by Margie's sense of sadness and loneliness as she thinks of the old times when kids would go to schools together, learn together from real humans, and have a lot of fun. So in this chapter, we have learned about the old schools and as well as the future schools. So this is the main topic of the video. So in the next video you will get the solutions of this chapter with some extra questions. Till then, thank you.